let's get some perspective now on these major stories tonight. Senior political analyst Britt Hume joins us tonight from Boca Grande, Florida. Good evening, Britt. I want to start with the rollout of Obamacare, which is really the biggest thing we've been waiting for, the details. And as you get down into these details, do you think that Republicans are going to go after each other on some of this, or that they'll unite?
I think that Republicans will be fine on most of this, Brett, but there's always been this problem that Obamacare included these subsidies for people to enable them to buy insurance under the Obamacare plan. And the repeal of Obamacare obviously take those subsidies away. And we all know, Brett, from years of watching entitlement reform efforts go by, that the hardest thing in the world to do is to revoke a benefit once it has been granted by law. So what the Republicans have done here is replace the Obamacare subsidy with a tax credit, which is in effect another form of subsidy. And there are conservatives in the House, and I think we know who some of them are, who think this is a bad idea, that it amounts to Obamacare light, or at least an element of Obamacare light, as they have said. So I think the Republicans in the House leadership have some work to do to sell this idea of the credit to some of the more conservative members, and if they don't round enough of them up, of course, they may be denied the majority they need to pass it. That's just one phase of this, but I think that's a trouble spot.
And the OMB director, Mick Mulvaney, formerly of the House Freedom Caucus, is apparently going to lead some of that. And they can lose 20 votes, but they lose 21, and it goes down in the House. And then in the Senate, obviously, they need 51 votes to get through with reconciliation.
Yeah, they use the budget process to eliminate the possibility of a filibuster, so they could do it with 51 votes, but it remains to be seen, obviously, of course, whether there'll be misgivings in the Senate. One sense is, Brett, that this is the start of the process, and that there'll be negotiations going forward, and there'll be all kinds of melodrama and perils of Pauline moments when the whole thing looks like it's going to come apart. But doing something this big is never easy, and I think it's too early to say that it's really in trouble. And this is at least as a plan. They've been, critics have been saying for the longest time, Brett, that they don't have a plan. Well, now they have a plan.
Very specific.
It's something to, yeah, exactly.
It's all being laid out there. I want to get your thoughts of the other story that kind of consumed the weekend, and President Trump's tweets about wiretapping and the fallout from all of this.
Two things, Brett. One is that there doesn't appear to be any available substantiation for the president's claim that his predecessor authorized or otherwise allowed or even ordered him to be wiretapped. It's not at all clear that Mr. Trump was wiretapped, that President Trump was wiretapped when he was still Mr. Trump, and the president has presented no evidence to the contrary. At the same time, of course, we're in the middle of this firestorm over claims that there might have been collusion, but claims that there was collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian interests or Russian intelligence. And there's no substantiation for that either, as far as we know. So what we have here is a battle of competing claims, neither of which seems to be very, very well founded.
And very quickly, Britt, you have Chuck Grassley writing a letter to the FBI director in which he says that the FBI and associates of the Clinton campaign paid former British spy Christopher Steele to investigate the Republican nominee at a time when he was getting paid by the Democratic campaign. He wants to know, what is the deal with this? This is for that infamous dossier.
Yeah, this is that dossier, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we know a couple of things about the dossier, Brett, is that there are a number of things in it that are known to be false, and it is widely thought to be pretty scurrilous. So it does raise the question of why the FBI would be, preparing to do business with this guy. And apparently it never went forward. In other words, they negotiated, they were going to work with him in some way, and then the whole thing blew up in the press about the dossier, and it never went forward. But it seems to me that Senator Grassley, Chairman Grassley, is on solid ground in asking for an explanation of this, which is what the purpose of his letter was. It'll be interesting to see how the FBI director, who seems to be at the center of nearly everything these days, responds.
Exactly. Britt, as always, thank you.